Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in our country over the past week or so. And as is the norm, I want to take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you who are joining us from Berbice on the quarantine coast in New Amsterdam, Central Quarantine, East Berbice, West Coast Berbice, Region number 5, Mahaika, Maikoni, Blairmont, and all those villages who are looking at us on television. Good evening. I also want to take this opportunity to welcome our listeners who are joining us on Freedom Radio from Freedom House, Georgetown. Welcome to this program. And I also want to invite and welcome all our viewers on Facebook, joining us right across the globe, right across Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, and further afield. I take this opportunity to invite you to share this program. Share it with your friends, share it to your friends, share it with your family, with your neighbors, so that we can continue to have an amazing and a huge discourse on the important issues facing us in Guyana. And as usual, we have a very packed program, but I want to take some time again to implore you and to request that you share this program widely so that other persons can join us in our discussions. I understand that more and more this program is being looked at, as in particular in the diaspora, but by Guyanese who continue to pay a keen interest in the affairs of their country. And we welcome them and we invite them to continue to play an important part in their country's development. And we welcome their interest, we welcome their views, and of course we welcome their contribution. I also want to take this opportunity to tell you that you are going to be part of the program. Once you submit answers in the commentary section of the Facebook Live, then some of your comments and questions are going to be extracted and will become part of the program. So I want to begin by going straight into a political issue that has once again raised its ugly head in Guyana. And it is the question of racism and racial stereotyping and racial discrimination. Now, it is no secret that this has been a problem affecting our society for a very long time. It affects our politics, it affects our socialization process, it affects many facets of our lives. Unfortunately, it is being kept alive and it is being exploited and it is being manipulated by politicians. Failed politicians. Politicians who have no track record. Politicians who have a mediocre record in office and out of office. Politicians who have failed not only in their personal lives and personal pursuits, but failed in their political pursuits. Politicians who have failed their constituencies. Politicians who have made promises to the people of this country and cannot and did not deliver on those promises. Politicians who have demonstrated an incomparable level of incompetence in and out of office. Politicians who have not acquitted themselves in any endeavors in life. These grouping of people, the only way that they can stay alive the only way that they can stay in the political game, the only way that they can survive in politics is by exploiting the tribal and basal nature of the uneducated and of people generally. So what they do, they exploit and they appeal to people's instincts, raw, naked and natural instincts. They employ racism. They try to pit one segment of our society against the other because they can't deliver on any given thing. They have no track record to point to. So the only way that they can stay in power is by trying to inform one group, one racial group, that the other racial group or other racial groups are conspiring against them. And they must stay with them, these failed political leaders, in order for them to survive. And that is what we see being practiced and perpetuated in this country for a very, very long time. If you listen to the diatribe coming out of the PNC, not now, but go back, and that has been the style of politics to which they have become accustomed. And why? If Guyanese ever begin to think constructively for themselves and vote on issues, they will never ever vote for these politicians. They will never ever vote for this political party. Never. It's a political party steeped in rigged elections, a history of crookery, a history of stealing people's rights and ballots, a history of authoritarianism, a history of killing and murdering and beating and terrorizing political opponents like Walter Rodney and the whole list of them. And I can go right through to their behavior when the Chief Justice ruled quite recently. The vulgarity that we saw exhibited on Regent Streets and other areas and on the airwaves, cussing down the judiciary. Now, a political party that has those types of proclivities and politicians who are leaders of that party, they have nothing else to point to but to keep the society in a perpetual state of strife. So you have this person, Amanza Desir, who happens to be a lawyer and who goes out there creating this veneer of learning and start to stereotype people who are far more accomplished than she can ever be, calling them mentally lazy. Racial discrimination is a wrong. It's an illegal act. It is outlawed by the most supreme law of our country. Racial discrimination is something that the Constitution protects Guyanese from as a fundamental right and freedom. There is no person who has a right to speak that way and in those terms against any person in this country or segment of persons in this country. Who is this lady to make those types of statements? And not a word from her political colleagues condemning it. Not a word from her political leader condemning it. We already have on the public record quite recently statements to the effect when they were in government, they will only give PNC people jobs. And many types of statements like that. And you have Amanza Desir now saying the same thing. And we are being told, and the Guyanese people are being told, that young politicians are being groomed and are being exposed to take over this party. But the young politicians are worse than the older ones, apparently. Because this is what we are getting. What constructive statement has this politician made since she has entered the political arena? Can you remember a statement of substance that she has made? This is what she's famous for. This is the statement that put her on the political map. This is the only thing that she now will have to be judged by. And her political party has not seen it fit to offer an explanation, to offer a condemnation, to offer an apology, or direct her to retract the statement. Instead, they put her out there to try to explain and justify what is clearly inexplicable and unjustifiable, and as a result, she has compounded the toxicity. She has compounded it. I didn't want to respond to this kind of utterances, but oftentimes, if you allow these statements to continue to remain on the public record without challenging them, you run the risk of them becoming part of the public record and be recognized subsequently as truths. I have seen many ridiculous lies being regarded as truths. Being regarded as truths. For example, somehow or the other, I don't know, I guess because we haven't responded in a timely way, Shahshaw's assassination and the brutal killing of him and members of his family somehow over the years have evolved to somehow implicate the People's Progressive Party and the PPP government. And it is because we never responded to the foolishness that have been said over the years. So they accumulate and they are repeated and they are refashioned and they are reformatted. And before you realize it, you now are being blamed for one of the most violent attacks on you. This was an attack on the People's Progressive Party. It was an attack on the PPP civic government. And perhaps because we didn't reply in a timely way and repetitively, it is now being refashioned as though we are implicated. It was us who were under threat. Shahshaw was one of us. And people seem to forget that it was Winston Felix who was the commissioner of police. The very Winston Felix who is in the PNC. And APNU, AFC and their activists and acolytes are calling upon us to answer when the commissioner of police at the time is their own Winston Felix. He must tell us what the police did and what the police did not do. What I know and what is on the public record is that the Feynman gang was implicated. There are confession statements in the file where members of that gang confessed to the killing, and they explain how it was done, and they explain why, and persons of that gang, members of that gang, were charged and put before the court for that murder. You remember the name Biscuit? Remember the name Skinny? They were charged and put before the court for Saksaw murder. But these people, that is all that they do whole day. Spin propaganda, twist lies, bend and break the truths to implicate you. That's all that they do. They don't do anything else. 5 years in government, we saw what they did to the country. Now in opposition, Joseph Harman is walking the streets. This man is walking stall to stall at the border market and simply lying. Lying to the people, telling them that we have shared out some $25 million to businessmen, a few selected businessmen, as COVID grants. I don't know if these guys are, if it is stupidity, if they don't listen to themselves. The amount of money he called amounts to about 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion in a system where you have is manned by public servants. You can't withdraw money from the consolidated fund except by an appropriation approved by the parliament. How do you draw out 125 billion and you just give 5 people and nobody would know? Are these people, is the level of stupidity so high? Is this, I don't understand. I don't understand how they make up these things. They just come up like it, they come up with these things one after the other. And that brings me to Aubrey Norton. Aubrey Norton makes a couple of statements. He says, one, that the PPP discriminated in the distribution of COVID grants, discriminated against Afro-Guyanese. That is the allegation. The PPP government discriminated in the distribution of COVID grant against Afro-Guyanese, meaning, apparently, that Afro-Guyanese did not get, but Indo-Guyanese got. Now, the COVID grant, as far as I understand, was shared on 2 basic principles. One is that each family must be a recipient. If there is a home that has more than 2 families, the principal family will get first, and the secondary family will receive a pink slip, and they will get at a later stage. I know that that principle was executed across the board in every village. So Norton has made this statement. Now, it is not a new allegation. When the budget debate was ongoing, every single one of the MPs on the APNU AFC benches made that allegation, every one of them. Firstly, each of them got the cash grant. Each of their families got the cash grant. Mr. David Granger himself got the cash grant. So I want to make that clear. No matter how, irrespective of how discriminatory we were, they ensured that they get through. All of them got the various grants. So the discrimination apparently didn't affect them, did not affect them. Each of them got. That is the first thing I want you to note. Secondly, the budget was debated since March, February, March. I have asked them in the National Assembly as they were speaking, bring a list of names of persons whom you are saying have been discriminated against. Or put them on the television, put them on the newspapers, put them on the Facebook, let them stand up and tell the world that they were discriminated against. Why we can't get that done? We must accept Aubrey Norton asinine utterances, absolutely unsupported by an iota of evidence, that this thing is racism. He stands and he speaks and he cannot draw one example, can produce one human being. And let us interview that human being. I'm not saying that everybody got. I am saying that who did not get was not discriminated against. The system, no system is perfect, and I am sure that both Indo-Guyanese meet me right across this country and say, we have been omitted. They didn't come by our house. So I have no doubt that there are Afro-Guyanese too in that category. But to go out and say that there was a deliberate policy to discriminate Afro-Guyanese is what I find reprehensible. And that is the politics of the PNC. So they walk house to house and they tell people that all day, whole day, they have nothing else to do. Now that is not benefiting anybody, you know. That is only keeping their survival alive. That is keeping their parasitic existence going. Because that's how they survive. Not on meritocracy, not on performance, not on making constructive criticism against the government, not on formulating policies that are alternative but beneficial to the people of Guyana, alternative to the government. They're not doing anything like that. No brain work, and yet they are not lazy, mentally lazy. No brain work, but they're fomenting strife, tribalism and racism across this country. We are still waiting for Aubrey Norton to produce the people and let us speak to them. Let them tell the world that they were discriminated. You see, if we are a properly functional society, these guys should have been before a tribunal every day to answer for their racist rhetoric. But we live in a dysfunctional society. The Ethnic Relations Commission itself suffers from discrimination. They discriminate among themselves and between themselves in there. That's a nest, it's a waste of time. So, then another statement that Norton makes. Norton believes that he's a bright boy, he makes all these analysis. He's some, I don't know, the truth of the matter is, Mr. Norton, and I like Norton as a person, but he's a rejected politician. He's a failed politician. His own party has rejected him. While they were in government, he was not made neither an MP nor a minister. He was not made an MP again. They brought in people from all over, persons who are unknown, and they made him MPs before him. But somehow he has persuaded himself that he is the intellectual Caesar of the party. So he speaks on what I'm sure he considers these highly intellectual matters. So he makes another allegation about the government going after Afro-Guyanese in relation to land matters. Apparently he analyzes these things. Well, Mr. Norton, let me tell you, I am the person who has been dealing most with these land matters. The truth of the matter is that 90% of the lands that were distributed during your government's tenure were given to Afro-Guyanese. That's the first thing I want you to understand. 90% of the land allocations were made to Afro-Guyanese. And you can ask the staff at Lands and Surveys Commission, Afro-Guyanese staff, and they will tell you that Mr. Trevor Benn used to announce that he will not process applications from certain race groups in this country. He said that publicly. As a result, one of his managers had to resign because he couldn't endure that kind of talk in the place anymore. So the first thing I want to make is that is the racial number if you classify the number of house land, the lands that were given away, that are under scrutiny. But that is not the reason why they are being retaken. We said that they lacked any process. They were illegally done, and I pointed out repeatedly that Ben himself was not authorized by Granger to conduct the transaction that he did. And before Norton upbraided Ben for disobeying the president and the leader of his party, he joins with Ben under the umbrella of racism. That is how destructive this type of thinking is. The truth of the matter is that Indo-Guyanese some of them have benefited too. And they have been placed before the court. Eddie Dulal is not an African Guyanese. Avalan Jaganandan is not an Afro-Guyanese. They are all before the court with James Bond. But Aubrey Norton doesn't remember that. Conveniently, he doesn't remember that. The racism in him blocks his memory. And many of the persons who benefited from the corrupt land giveaways have given back their lands. Many Indo-Guyanese have given back their lands, and many Afro-Guyanese have given back their lands. Mr. Norton doesn't speak about that. He doesn't speak of the actions that the government has taken against BK International, owned by a man named Brian Tiwari. He doesn't speak about the actions that we have taken against a contractor named Maraj and Sons Contracting Services from Legwan. That's an Indo-Guyanese. We have taken all of them to court. But Norton only knows when the Afro person goes to court. It's the same type of foolishness he published about GCOM in relation to charges being instituted against Lowenfield and Myers and the other staff. He says only Afro-Guyanese are being charged. Well, that is one of the complaints that was always made against the GCOM Secretariat, that only Afro-Guyanese gets to work there. Mr. Norton never hear that? So, if a crime is committed in Iceland, is that the people in Iceland will be likely to be charged? So, if only Afro-Guyanese dominate that place, and a wrong is committed, who you want the police to charge? And in any event, the whole world witnessed who the perpetrators of those wrongs were during that 5 months period. Who you want us to charge? An Amerindian? So, the thing is that we cannot continue to stay and remain silent when these racist rhetoric predominate the social media and the press. Because as I give you the Sachsaw example, there's another example that I can give you. There are tens of thousands of Afro-Guyanese who they said were murdered under the PUP or killed under the PUP. Somehow the PUP is responsible for that. What about the thousands of Afro-Guyanese who died under the APNU AFC? What about that over the last 5 years? Somehow, once an Afro-Guyanese dies while the PPP is in government, 4 years down the line, the PPP is held responsible for that death, even if a car knocked him down on the road. And when you don't reply to these things, they accumulate, they add up these statistics, and then they throw it on you. And that is what they have been doing over the years. That's all that they're doing. One thing I would give them full marks for is manufacturing this kind of racial rhetoric and then packaging it together and then hold symposium and speak on these matters. And that is what they have been doing. But while that is going on, we, at the same time, while I'm saying that we have to reply to them, we can't spend our energies and time behind these kinds of foolishness. This gets our country nowhere. It divides our people more. It reopens and aggravates wounds. We are concerned in pushing the developmental agenda of our country forward. We are concerned in fighting this COVID pandemic. So we are continuing to push aggressively the vaccination program. And again, do you know that the information is, and this information is coming from the health workers who are working among the population. You know what they're saying? That politicians are encouraging their supporters not to take the vaccines. Now, this is a level of irresponsibility. This is a level of cruelty to your own supporters. And this is a level of irresponsibility that borders on criminality. Because you are exploiting people to such an extent that you are threatening their lives. You are exposing them to fatal dangers. Why? The only thing that the world has to fight this vaccine, to fight this COVID, is this vaccine. People are dying right across the world because they can't get the vaccine. And the vaccine is the only thing that we have. And I'm not saying that it is as effective as it should be, but I have not heard any medical report to suggest that it is not working. Why would you mislead people over whom you exercise some influence in such a dangerous manner? Why are you doing that? That can't be love for those people. That can't be affection. If you are exposing people to dangers of death, then you are those people's enemies. You can't be leaders of those people. You can't care for those people. And perhaps that really illustrates the type of relationship. When you look at what they have been doing to their supporters, in every respect, the way they lie to them, the way they mislead them, the way they put them out on the street and leave them and abandon them, and the way they encourage them to engage in self-destructive acts, you want to know whether is it that they really have, or rather what type of relationship they really have with these people. Guyanese, I am appealing to you. We are appealing to you please ensure that you get your vaccination. I have arranged for the Ministry of Health to put a team, a medical team, in the High Court compound this Friday, Friday the 7th of May at 9 a.m. The exercise will begin at 9 a.m. This Friday in the High Court compound, Georgetown, and I'm asking all the staff of the High Court, the Magistrates Court, the Land Court, the Deeds Registry, Commercial Registry, Land Registry, all the lawyers, the legal profession, the clerks, their secretaries, and all occupants and operators of offices within that vicinity, please take advantage of the vaccination exercise which the Ministry of Health has kindly agreed to undertake on Friday coming. Please do not miss this out. And the vaccination program is continuing across the country. So please be part of that program. The government's scholarship program is underway, and we are in the process of fanning out across the country to sensitize our population, to make you aware of the program itself, the number of courses that are available, who can apply, that it is free, that the universities are reputable universities, and that you can do them online while you continue doing your everyday activities. And it's fully paid. This is the largest undertaking of this type in the English-speaking Caribbean. There is no government in the Caribbean that has executed a scholarship program of this magnitude. And I am proud to be part of the government that is doing it. Our ministers are in every region trying to sensitize the population. Imagine we are offering education free at a tertiary level, and we have to go around the country to beg people to take advantage of it. You know, sometimes I wonder what is wrong with us as a country and as a people. Just pause to think how many million people in the world today would like to have an education, but they can't afford it. Just think how many people can't afford a meal, one meal per day. How many people in the world? You are so lucky that you are being afforded an opportunity to get tertiary education free from a reputable university in the comfort of your home while you do everything else that you do in life. And you are not taking advantage of that opportunity. You know, after one time is another time. Our foreparents were condemned to the fields and to the factories. That is what our foreparents were condemned to. And they made sacrifices and sent us to school. And we educate ourselves, and we didn't work in the factories. We didn't work in the fields. And now our country has reached a stage where we can send 20,000 students free. And we are wasting this opportunity. Ministers got to travel the country simply to beg people almost to come on board. I don't understand. But we are prepared to do it. Rather than spew racism and division among our people, we are going to vaccine our people to make them healthy, and we are going to go on the ground, go into the villages, go into the backlands, and try to get our people educated. That is what we will do, while they will spew racism. And that's the difference between the two political parties. So this week, myself, I will lead a team of 3 ministers, my colleagues Joseph Hamilton and Onej Walron, ministers of labor and industry and tourism respectively, will join me on the East Coast, where first we are meeting all the councillors, and to give the councillors, the NDC councillors and other persons in the community, we are meeting them, the community leaders, and we are giving them the paraphernalia to take into the communities. We want every corner of every village to be touched. And Aubrey Norton, who is speaking about discrimination, should come and see the program that we have planned for the East Coast. Every single village, Nabaklis, Buxton, Golden Grove, Cane Grove, Bachelor's Adventure, Annandale, Pleasance, BV, Monrepo, LBI, Success, Chateaumargaux, everyone is covered. Mr. Norton, come and see how it is being done. Don't lock up in a room and ferment racial hostilities in your mind and then spew it through your mouth. Come and see how it is being done. And we are involving the NDCs of both NDCs that the PPP have won, as well as NDCs that APNU have won. We are using those NDCs as the basis to roll out the program, to get the paraphernalia to the people, to go into the backlands of Anne's Grove and tell the child there that this scholarship is available, to go into the backlands at Cane Grove to tell the child that this scholarship is available. That is what we are doing, Mr. Norton and Amanza this year. That is how you do, that is what you do if you're a political leader. You don't spew nonsense and hostilities and fragment your society. You try to mend and you try to build and you try to empower your people, as we are doing here. And when that phase of that program is finished, then we are going back into the communities in a series of meetings where we will meet the people who are interested in the scholarships, receive the application forms from them, because we are distributing it 1 week before, so that they can fill it up and give it back to us, and we can sit there and help them to fill out the application forms so that they know how to get onto the program. That is the level and that is the extent to which we are going down on the ground to help the people, all of our people, all races, all communities. We will walk the markets and share out the application forms too. Monrepo Market, Mahaika Market, Lusignan Market, Golden Grove Market have all been identified as areas which we will target by walkabouts to have the application forms for the scholarship distributed. We are firmly of the view that an educated population is an empowered population. There is no greater power you can give to a child than knowledge, education. And that is what we have invested it heavily as a government. We said it in our manifesto and we are delivering on that promise. And this is only the first year. This is only the first year. This is a continuing program. So I want to take this opportunity and use this platform to advise all interested persons and all parents, ensure that your children become part of the scholarship program. You as parents can become part of the scholarship program. There is no age limit, and they have courses for every type of qualification. If you don't have a CXC or GCE, there are courses for you. If you have GCXC and GCE, there are courses for you. If you have a degree, there are postgraduate programs. If you have a diploma, there are degree programs. If you have a master's, there are PhD programs. So no one is excluded. And the website, the Ministry of Education, and I believe the Public Service Ministry have major advertisements with the websites and how you can access the scholarship program. We are going to do some aggressive work this week and next week. When I say we, I mean the ministers whose names I have mentioned, targeting the East Coast. Targeting the East Coast from industry all the way to Cane Grove. And we are going to work that area to ensure that the scholarship program is fully exploited and taken advantage of by all Guyanese. And when I say all Guyanese, I mean Guyanese from every racial grouping. Because that is what, these people want us to talk about. I see there has been some kind of criticism again coming up because Gaisuku has received some money from the vice president. Well, and it all is grounded in the same ethnicity thing that I'm speaking about. These workers, for no reason, not their fault, bread was taken away from them and their family for nearly 2 years or 3 years. And we promised them. They are Guyanese. They contributed to this country, and they are contributing to this country. Just like how we pay, and we are still paying the light bill for the people of Region 10, running into hundreds of millions of dollars a year. We are paying for that. All of us are paying for that. What happened if we give the sugar workers $200 million compensation for their mistreatment and the illegal firing by the previous government? So I would not even spend any much time on that. And I'll come to the part of the program where I am to answer some of the questions that you have asked. So, how long your administration need to clean up GCOM? Apparently a very long time, my brother. But that's a work in progress. GCOM will be cleaned up before the next election. That's what I will say. People asking me to comment on Gavin Matthews. I don't even know who's Gavin Matthews. And why should I comment on Gavin Matthews? From everything I have read in the press about Gavin Matthews, I don't think this guy is in command of his full faculties. I don't think he's in control of his senses. I think that, and whoever listen to him and take him seriously, I seriously think that you should really check yourself too. So I will not waste any energy with anybody named Gavin Matthews. The people of Cummins Lodge, Industry, Ogle and Turkine are calling for a vaccination site in their area. Well, You know, the minister is from this area, Cummings Lodge, Industry, Ogle, Torkine. The Minister of Health lives in the same area. His wife is a doctor in the same area. So I will convey. I'm surprised though. I must say that I'm surprised that these areas have not been serviced by a vaccination exercise as yet. But I will convey your concerns to the minister as soon as I come off the program. There are a lot of questions asking about the SOPs. No, we did not get an opportunity to see the SOPs which are in GCOM possession. We have never been given an opportunity to see them up to now. They were taken from GCOM and put in the safe pursuant to a court order. I or no member of our party, or I don't think any member of any party, has seen those statements of poll. I have not seen them. Does the Court of Appeal has jurisdiction to hear election case? Well, one of those issues will be answered because the appeal, the one with the appeal of 99 is coming up for hearing in June, and today I completed writing my submissions, which I intend to file Thursday and serve, and I am contending that the court has no power to hear an appeal from a decision in 99 because 99 did not determine the election petition. The election petition was dismissed in 99 because of non-service. And the law is, if there is non-service, then there is a lack of compliance with a condition precedent to the hearing and determination of the petition. You see that the jurisdiction of this area of law is so structured that if you don't comply with the procedural requirements, then you don't qualify for your case to be heard. They did not comply with the procedural requirements. They did not serve the election petition in time. And as a result, the election petition was dismissed. On that ground, not on its merit. You can only appeal an elections petition on its merits. That's the only time you can appeal an election petition decision, if there is a determination of the case on its merits. There was no determination here. When would the court look at the elections petition that the PPP filed in 2015? Well, the court will not look at it because the law says that when a case becomes of academic importance, then the court, as a matter of policy, will not hear and determine it, because the court does not determine mute, abstract, or hypothetical issues. The court disputes live issues that are between the parties. Live issues. There is no live issue in relation to the 2015 elections anymore. That election petition which we filed has been overtaken by events. Another election has come. Government has changed. So, unfortunately, that will never be heard. It will never be heard. When will Yulita Moore and others be questioned where they get their money to pay those lawyers? Look, the truth of the matter is, our priority is not witch hunting. It's not going after Yulita Moore and Jones, Messenger Jones. And if we spend time doing that, then we can't deliver goods and service to our people. Yes, we made a commitment that those who violate the law will be prosecuted in accordance with the law. and by those whom the law authorizes to prosecute. So the DPP, the police, and special prosecutors are dealing with those things. But that's not why we got into government, to get back at those people. We got into government and we would like to spend our time in government, not going behind those people. That's waste of time. Those are a pack of bandits. We all know that. You and I know that they tried to thief the elections and they didn't get through. And the law will deal with them. Our focus must be to deliver goods and services to the people, to advance the developmental trajectory of this country, to bring investors in this country, to ensure that the oil money is properly spent, to ensure that the oil industry is properly managed, to ensure that we find suitable sources of alternative energy to fossil fuel, to ensure that we create enough jobs and job opportunities for our people, ensuring that our children get to school on time and get adequate opportunity to educate themselves, ensure that we are vaccinating our population for them to fight the COVID-19 virus. Those are our priorities. Not what Yolita Moore is doing and what is happening at GCOM. And we will deal with GCOM, obviously, that's a very important matter. But we can't be obsessing behind those issues. We have to spend time and serve the people. That is what we were elected for. Go out in the fields, look after the people's lands that they need title for. And I will talk about that on the next program, how we will expand this drive to title right across this country. It's something that I want my ministry to be associated with, to continue the registration system, the land registration system right across this country, so that every community, the people in those communities have titles for their lands that they have owned and they have been occupying for decades. This is where I have to say good evening, but before I close, tomorrow is Arrival Day, a national holiday in Guyana. Tomorrow we celebrate the arrival of all of our people, African slaves, Indian indentured servants, Chinese indentured servants, Portuguese indentured servants, African indentured servants, Amerindians, and Europeans. We all arrived in this country. We did so at different intervals. We did so under different circumstances. We did so for different reasons. But we are now here. And tomorrow is a day dedicated to the celebration of our arrival in Guyana and the beautiful coexistence and harmony which we have enjoyed together as a people. And that is why I feel so strongly that we have to remove from our society those carcasses that want to contaminate us with racism and racial poison. They have no place in a modern society like ours. So I want to take this opportunity to wish each and every one of you happy Arrival Day, and may you enjoy tomorrow, and we will resume this conversation next Tuesday. Thank you very much. Good evening and enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you.